Hey everyone, I'm Liz Fairy and today I'm going to show you how I made this crochet horse doll. In the first part, I'll show you how to make the head, neck, and ears. Some things you'll need for this tutorial are a crochet hook, I'll be using a size E, a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and some stitch markers or bobby pins. I'll be using them to mark the first stitch of the row, and also to mark certain stitches to make them easier to find later. So I have a whole bunch of bobby pins here. You'll also need yarn in Aran or worsted weight. I'll be using the color Aran from Red Heart Super Saver for the head and body of my horse, but you can use any color yarn you choose. I'll also be using charcoal to make the hooves, and I'll use a combination of charcoal and black to make the mane and tail of the horse. But again, you can use any color. You'll also need some fiber fill to stuff your doll. And if you like, you can also purchase the written pattern for this horse doll in my Ravelry store. You can find the link in the description below. So I'm going to begin at the top of the head. I'm going to create a double magic circle, so I'm going to wrap my yarn around my fingers twice to create 2 loops. And then into those 2 loops, I'm going to pull up a loop, and chain 1. And that chain is going to count as my first stitch, so I'm going to mark it with my bobby pin. I want to have 6 stitches total, so I'm going to single crochet 5 more times onto my 2 loops. Now I'm going to close my magic circle. First I'm going to pull on the tail a little bit, so that I have a bigger loop and a smaller loop. Then I'm going to find that smaller loop and pull it from the side that's closest to the tail, until the other loop closes completely. And then I'm going to pull on my tail until this loop closes. Okay, now I'm going to begin to increase. I'm going to increase 6 times for every row of increase. Since I have 6 stitches in the last row, I'll increase every stitch. So I'm going to find that chain that counted as the first stitch in the previous row, and I'm going to single crochet 2 times into that same stitch to increase. Then I'll increase every other stitch of this row until I reach the end of the row. Now I've finished my first row of increase, I'm going to increase for 1 more row. In this row, I'm going to increase every second stitch. You can continue to increase for as long as you like. In the next row, you would increase every 3rd stitch, then in the next row every 4th stitch, then every 5th stitch, and so on. Just continue until you have the width you want for the top of your horse's head. So I've done the first stitch. Now I'm going to single crochet 2 times into the second stitch. And I'm going to continue to increase every second stitch all the way around the row. Okay, I've done my last row of increase. Now I'm going to single crochet for a couple of rows, and this is going to be where my doll's eyes go. So I'm going to single crochet for 2 more rows, but again, you can go on for as long as you like until you have enough room for your doll's eyes. Okay, I've gotten to the end of 2 rows of single crochet. Now I'm going to begin to increase to create the nose of my doll. I'm going to increase the front of the face where the nose would go 3 times per row until I get the length I want. So I'm going to single crochet 2 times into the 3 stitches at the front of the work. I'll place my increases on the opposite side from the first stitch of the row. I'm going to make this doll with a smaller, more cartoonish face, but if you want to make a more realistic horse face with a longer, more rounded nose, you should increase 6 stitches per row instead of just 3. So I'm going to single crochet until I get to the front so that I can start to increase. Okay, now at the front of the work, I'm going to single crochet 2 times into this stitch. And into the next 2 stitches. But again, if you want to create a longer face, you can increase more times per row. Next, I'll single crochet until the end of the row. And I'm going to go on increasing like this for 4 rows. So I've gotten to the end of 4 rows, and as you can see, the nose is sticking out at the front. So now I'm going to single crochet for 1 row to make the nose a little wider. You can go on for as many rows as you like until the nose is wide enough. I'm just doing 1 row. So I finished my row of single crochet. Now I'm going to begin to decrease the nose and the back of the head to create the neck of my doll. So I'm going to decrease at the front 3 times per row, but I'm also going to decrease at the back 3 times every other row to create a more gradual curve at the back of the head. So I'm going to go on for 4 more rows, which means I'll be decreasing at the front for 4 rows and decreasing at the back for just 2 rows. So I'm going to single crochet until I get to the front where I'm going to decrease. Now I've gotten to the front where the nose is, I'm going to do my 3 decreases. To decrease, I'm going to place my hook through the front loops of the next 2 stitches. Then I'm going to pull up a loop through both of those stitches, and then single crochet to decrease. If you did the 6 increases to create a more realistic rounded nose, you should decrease the same amount at the front of this row to end the nose. Next, I'm going to continue to single crochet until the end of the row. So I've gotten to the end of that row, which is at the back of the head. Here at the back, I'm going to decrease 3 more times to start the next row. And now I'm going to continue to single crochet until I get back to the front so I can decrease again. Alright, I finished my decreases at the front. Now I'm going to go on single crocheting until I reach the end of the row. Alright, I've gotten to the end of my row. Now in the next row, I'm only going to decrease at the front and not the back, so I'm going to go ahead and do another row of decreasing only at the front. Then I'll do another row of decreasing both the front and the back. In this row, I'm going to place one of the decreases at the back at the beginning of the row, and 2 of them at the end of the row, just to make sure the decreases at the back stay at the middle. You might not need to do this depending on where the first stitch of the row is. Just make sure to place 3 decreases at the front and 3 at the back. Alright, I've gotten to the end of my rows of decrease. Next I'll add some fiber fill to the head. Now I'm going to gradually widen the neck by single crocheting for 2 rows, then increasing 2 times, once at the front and once in the back for 1 row. So I'm just going to go on single crocheting for 2 more rows. Alright, I finished my 2 rows of single crochet. Now I'm going to do my row of increase. So here at the back, I'm going to do my first increase. Then I'm going to single crochet until I get to the front of the work. Then I'll do my second increase. Then I'm going to single crochet until I get to the end of the row. And I'm going to do that one more time, so I'm going to single crochet for 2 more rows. Then I'm going to do another row with 2 increases. Okay, I finished with 2 more rows of single crochet and 1 more row of 2 increases at the front and back. You can continue doing that for as long as you like. Just keep adding 2 rows of single crochet and then 1 row with 2 increases until your doll's neck reaches the desired length. Once I'm finished with my last row of neck, I'm going to put my work aside for now. Don't cut off the yarn yet because we're going to continue using the same strand when we make the body. So now I'm going to create the ears using the other end of my yarn. If you like, you could wait until the whole horse's body is done before creating the ears, so that you don't have to use the opposite end of the yarn, but I'm just going to create my doll's ears now so that I can show you how to complete the head. To begin, I'm going to create another double magic circle with 6 stitches of single crochet, the same way I did when I made the head. So I'm going to wrap my yarn around my fingers twice, and then into my 2 loops I'm going to pull up a loop and chain 1. And that is going to count as the first stitch, so mark it with the bobby pin. Then I'm going to single crochet 5 more times into those loops. So I finished with 5 more stitches. Now I'm going to close my magic circle the same way I did last time. Alright, now I'm going to increase the work. Just like the top of the head, I'm going to increase every stitch of this row. I'm just going to do one row of increase, but if you like, you can continue to increase until your ears are the right length. In the next row, you would increase every second stitch, then in the next row every third stitch, then every fourth stitch, and so on. Just make sure that in the last row of increase, you add a pointy tip to the top middle 3 stitches of your doll's ear. Since I'm only doing one row of increase, I'll show you how to do that now. So I'm going to continue to increase every stitch of this row. But when I get to the top 3 middle stitches, where I want the tip to go, I'm going to increase my first stitch using a single crochet and a half double crochet in the same stitch, instead of 2 single crochets. So single crochet in the next stitch, then to half double crochet, I'm going to yarn over my hook, then pull up a loop through the stitch, and pull a loop through all the loops on my hook to finish the stitch. Then into the next stitch, I'm going to increase with a half double crochet, a double crochet, and another half double crochet with a picot in the middle. So first I'll half double crochet again into the next stitch, then to double crochet, I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop in that stitch, and pull a loop through 2 of the loops on my hook. Then pull another loop through the remaining 2 loops on my hook. Next I'll add a little picot to the tip of the ear. To do that, I'm going to chain 3, then slip stitch into the 3rd chain for my hook. Then into the same stitch as my other half double crochet and double crochet, I'm going to half double crochet again, so there are 3 stitches worked into that stitch. And that's going to create the tip of the ear. Then in the next stitch, I'll do another increase, this time with a half double crochet and a single crochet into the same stitch, so that it mirrors the stitches that I made before. Then I'll continue to increase the rest of the row normally with 2 single crochets in each stitch. Then I'm going to end my row with a slip stitch into the first stitch of the next row. I'm going to cut off a long tail that I'm going to use to sew the ear to the doll's head. And now I just need to make another ear that's the same size. Finally, I'm going to place the eyes. I'm going to use these yarn eyes that I made using my black yarn. If you want to see how I made these yarn eyes, you can find the tutorial in the description below. First, I'm going to sew down where the eyes are going to go to make a more realistic shaped face. I'm going to use some yarn that's the same color as my doll, so you won't be able to see the stitches. First, I'm going to fasten the yarn and bring it out at one of the eyes. Then I'm going to sew through the head, from this eye to the one on the other side, at around the same spot. Then I'm going to pull the yarn to bring the fabric in slightly around the eyes. This will give the horse a longer looking nose and a space to place each eye. I'm going to sew back and forth through this spot a couple of times. And then I'm going to sew in this end. Now I'm going to use the tails of each eye to sew them into the head. First, I'll place them where I want the eye to go. Then I'm going to sew in each tail, and I'll be careful not to let any of the eye color yarn show through the stitches of the head. So I'll make sure to sew back into the same place that I bring out my needle, so that the tail is all on the inside of the head. And then I'll sew the ears to the top of the head on each side. I already sewed one of the tails into the ear. I'll use the other to sew the bottom of the ear to the top of the head. Now the horse head and neck is complete, and now we just need to add the body, which I'll show you how to do in the next video. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like and share it on social media. If you want to see more doll tutorials, you can find a playlist at the end of this video, or check in the description below. And if you'd really like to help out the channel, you can donate to my Patreon. You can get some pretty cool perks through Patreon, like seeing my videos early, access to some of my prototype patterns, and discounts in my Ravelry store, depending on your level of donation. You can find out more about that at patreon.com/fairyrings. You could also subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss the next video, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!